Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? We're here again on this week's episode. I'm delighted to have Fredrik from a very pivotal band in my life, STARMARKET out of Sweden. Fredrik, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much.
So first thing I have to say is your band STARMARKET for me was the moment I heard the song Your Style off of your first album, which is the first song. The opening note was the minute that I just said, here's a band I'm going to follow for the rest of my life. And I basically have.
It's been a couple of years since that song was released. So
yeah, it's been quite a while. What that came out in 95, right? So yeah, it's been a while.
Well, thank you for holding out so long.
The first thing I want to find out is, and for me being someone who's, across the world, and for someone in Sweden and forming a band, and so many pivotal bands have come out of where you're from. I mean, what was it like trying to start and put together a band such as STARMARKET?
Well, I can't really remember, but I mean, at the time when we started, there was some kind of explosion going on in the north of Sweden. So you had bands from the neighboring towns from where I lived. There was kind of a scene building up with both like punk and hardcore bands and indie bands, and Piteå, where I live, is a pretty small town in the north of Sweden, and we didn't have that much going, really. I mean, compared to, for example, Luleå and Umeå, which are bigger towns also in the north of Sweden, where there were much more of a local scene that was growing. In Piteå, where I lived, there was quite few who were into the kind of music that I was into. So it was quite hard to start to find people to play with and who enjoyed the same music. But it kind of worked out after a while.
Now, when you say you were listening stuff, I know music starts into someone's life when you're very young and impressionable, and there's usually 2 times in your life where music means the most to you. It's usually the first time you heard music, and then the first time you found music that you could call your own. Do you remember the first time that you heard music, your first musical memory?
Well, I grew up in a very musical family. Both my parents were piano teachers, so I kind of had music from the start with me.
That's great.
So, but I would say like around 10, when I was 10 years old, I started listening to the Beatles, which I found through my uncles. My uncle had a couple of, all the records. I recorded them from him, and that was kind of my first memory of like finding something that I like on my own. I mean, not just music that you hear that my parents played, and which was nice, but this was the Beatles when I was 10 years old was my first
Yeah, I mean that does a lot. That's a lot of people's first things that they go to and remember. I mean, is there a more influential band for people to find when they're young than the Beatles? I'm not sure there is.
Yeah, I mean it's quite easy since I mean my parents grew up around that time, so I guess it was pretty easy to find. I mean, it was already around, so yeah, that was the first time.
Now, when you're listening to the Beatles, where did you like progress to? Because the sound of Star Market, which I have to give you uh, uh, tons of credit, is in a short period of time you kind of progressed with the band with what was going on with the sound around the world. I mean, start the 95 when you dropped your album, it was very heavy, so and it leaned more towards that punk rock style. And then when you continued on to Sunday's Worst Enemy, Calendar, 4 Hour Lights, it kind of went on to what was happening at the time, which was emo. And then Abandoned Time kind of ended with that, I want to say, the quintessential rock and roll that was happening. It was, almost like, I guess around here in the States, like the Strokes were big, but it started to get that sound, like you just kept progressing and following along with what was going on. So
Yeah.
what did you listen to help you formulate that? There had to have been a moment when you were younger and you listened to something and you were like, okay, this is what I want to do if I start a band.
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, I feel that we always, you always get influences from whatever is going on around you. I mean, like you said, we started. We did our first album in '95, and back then it was, we were mostly like influenced by American indie rock music, like Superchunk and Dinosaur Jr., that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then further on, I mean, of course, you find new influences that continue to influence the way the music sound. So I always find it important to listen to all kinds of music, just to. I mean, I really. It's like a cliche to say that you listen to all kinds of music, but during my lifetime, I almost listened to all kinds of music that exist. At least try to have an open mind for new music and everything from like classical music to I mean hip hop and rap music and. Yeah, so which is nowadays is easy because you find everything on Spotify.
Yeah, it's a much different world nowadays to find music.
In like the early '90s, like late '80s, it was kind of more of a struggle to find the music that you liked and find new influences.
Yeah, I mean, I never would have found you if the guy at the record store didn't say, "Hey, listen to this." And
Okay.
hand it to me, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And that's how I found Star Market. And that's how you used to find music. You would search through stuff, or someone would give you something, because you couldn't just easily type in the name on the internet and find something. So it was, I also think at that time it kind of brought you into like meeting new friends, because you had similar tastes in music, and you may not have had similar qualities anywhere else but in that music field.
Yeah. For me, I think in the beginning, I mean, you got a lot of influences from the radio. I mean, there was like this one radio show in Sweden that played more alternative music. So if I hadn't like started to listen to this radio show, I don't know. It could have. I mean, took several years later for me to find this music, but so it was a different world when it comes to music. I mean, the kids nowadays have it easy. They have everything served
They do have it easy, but I also think it's hard on them too because there's so much to choose from now. There's so much to find.
It's more like maybe shallow because it's you listen to one song and it's, I mean, the next day you find another song and you listen to it. I mean, back then I mean when I was like 17, 18 years, you listen to the same record for every day. I mean, for 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, because that's all you could afford.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Now, when you growing up in a musical family and having music all around you, I mean, that's a pretty awesome thing to have, and you know, not many people have that. So, what was it like trying to find your way, growing up with piano teachers, and then finding your way to guitar? What was that transition like, and how did you start coming up with songs and wanting to form a band?
Yeah. I started playing piano, and then I continued to play cello when I was like 8, 9 years old, which is kind of a string instrument. So after I did that for a few years, I changed to started to playing bass, like electric bass, when I was like maybe 11, 12 years old. And I did that for a couple of years, but of course I wanted to be a guitar player, like, so when I was 15, I got an electric guitar for present, and I had already started to play guitar before that, so it was kind of, I mean, if you live in a family, you want to have something that is your personal thing. I mean, if I started to play piano like my parents, I would be compared to them maybe, or for me, getting an electric guitar was,
yeah, you were stepping out. You didn't want to go into that mold, which is commendable.
Kind of a revolting to my parents. And, yeah.
When you got that electric guitar, I mean, that had to have just changed your thought about music and what you wanted to do. When you got that electric guitar, what did you want to do from there? Like, what did you say when you got that electric guitar? This is what I want to do. What did you want to do?
Well, for the first years, I just sat in my room playing a couple of hours. I mean, not every day, but practice. Trying to learn how to play, listening to music and try to play with the music. So it was maybe like Jimi Hendrix, Sex Pistols, that kind of classic rock albums that I was jamming to and try to copy. So it wasn't until maybe I wasn't playing in a band until maybe when I was 17, 18 in high school.
What was the name of that first band you were in?
Oh, the first real band, maybe. Yeah. I had a band when I was like 17 called Swim. We were heavily influenced by, like shoegazing bands like Ride and My Bloody Valentine, that kind of stuff.
Cool.
And this was, so that was my first my first own band where I wrote I started writing parts of songs and trying to learn how to write songs. But I only played the guitar. I didn't sing at that point. But yeah, that's the first.
Do you remember your first live performance in front of strangers in a band?
Yeah, probably did that earlier on. I mean, when I had a couple of bands before that, so it was probably like a school dance or something. It was really, really strange, I guess, to play in front of people. I wasn't very. It took a while to get comfortable playing live. As I guess for everybody. I mean, it's a not very normal situation. So
No, it's not normal when you have, people staring at you while you're doing something.
exactly.
You just got to imagine it if you're sitting at a desk at a normal job and you just have 500 people behind you staring at you working all day. You probably wouldn't do your best work immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember your first concert you ever attended?
Let me think. I mean, when I was growing up in Piteå, there wasn't that much like live music. So my first concert, nothing memorable. I mean, probably saw like local bands, and maybe if a bigger band came to town, you went to see them, but nothing that sticks out. I think it wasn't until I saw, I mean, maybe when I was 15, 16, I convinced, I went to this festival in southern Sweden to see Ride, this English band, and
Yep.
And that was of course amazing. One of the first concert you remember.
Yeah.
Made an impression on me.
Yeah, when you say remembering a show, is there a show that stands out to you that is like one of your favorite shows you ever saw? Would you say that might fall into that?
Yeah, well, a couple of years later, I saw. At this time, I had moved to Umeå, which is a town maybe like, well, how many miles, but maybe 150 miles south of my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And I started studying there at the university. And one night, somebody gave me a flyer that said that Archers of Loaf were playing in Umeå. This was maybe in 1993. And I hadn't listened to them back then. I mean, I listened to Superchunk, which was like similar music, and I think on the same, like from the same town in North Carolina.
Yep.
But I hadn't listened to Archer of Loaf, but the flyer said something like indie rock, something guitar rock. So I went down to this really small pub in like a suburb of Umeå. It was not really that much people, but it was definitely one of the shows that I still remember. Made a really big impression for me when I was, and I was maybe 20, 21 maybe, and it was this combination of both very good melodies and but also very quite aggressive. It was kind of a they had like a punk attitude, even though they played more like indie rock, which I later tried to mix in with. I tried when we started STARMARKET. That was a big influence to maybe mix melodic indie music with more like a punk attitude, more aggressive attitude. Yeah, so that was definitely something I remember.
Yeah, and for Archers of Loaf, I mean, if you saw him in '93, that's when Icky Metal, which is that album for me that brought me into Archers of Loaf, that just changed certain things in me. I mean, you kind of explained it extremely well. And saying the style of music they were playing, it was indie rock, but it was a mixture of so many things. And when you see Archers of Loaf perform, and I've seen them a bunch of times, it's a sight that will be burned into your memory forever because they just do what they do and they do it so well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, I mean, before that, I usually I only listen to mostly to like English indie, like shoegazing music, which was great, but it was also kind of not so not so in your face. I mean, it was more like standing still on stage and staring at the floor. And so that when I started, I mean, when we started playing live with STARMARKET, I always felt that it was important to it had to be like a physical experience as well. I mean, to not just stand on stage and stare at the floor, but you try to.
You wanted to watch a show. You wanted to perform,
Exactly.
and that shoegaze stuff. I've seen Ride. I've seen bands like that, and it's great for what they do, but you're not always seeing someone perform.
Yeah. You have to give something extra for for the people who came to paid for the show. So yeah, at least that we try to do with STARMARKET. I mean, of course, in Umeå you had when I moved there, there was this burgeoning like hardcore scene with bands like Refused and Abinanda that also were part of the music scene in Umeå. So of course that was also very very influential to see when I saw those hardcore bands. It was also very powerful. I mean, the music was when you saw it live, it was kind of impressive.
It's hard not to feel something when you see a show like that.
So that's why I always, I mean, when I go to see a show, I want to see something like that. I want to see someone who gives something extra, not just playing the songs and then go off stage. So yeah.
Well, that is a big thing, and that's when it comes to performances like that. Is if I just wanted to hear the songs, I would stay home and listen to the record. I want to see the songs performed in the way that you envisioned them to play them live. Now, when you see something like that, like if you saw Archers of Loaf in '93 and then STARMARKET, I mean, you put out an album in '95, so it wasn't that long after that. That you got together and decided to record an album and put it out. I mean, was that a burgeoning force for you to just say, okay, I just saw this. This is, I gotta do something with this.
I guess so, yeah. But also, you like I said, there was so much going on around me at the time. I mean, where I lived in the north of Sweden, it seemed like everybody had a band. So I mean, it was kind of natural to start a band. I mean, so it was quite interesting time to be there. You had both like this, like I said, like the punk and hardcore scene, and more like more soft indie scene as well. But for being such a, I mean, it's very in the north of Sweden. It's quite not many people live there. so I mean, if you think about the place and how many people who actually live there, it's quite impressive that so many bands started up there back in those years. Yeah. So
what was it like finding out when you started to progress and find out that your sound was making it around the world to, stupid little me in a small town in New Jersey that, found your music and loved it and things started to progress? What was that like for you? I mean, to be from a small town in Sweden to, being in just how you feel when you start a band because everybody's doing it, just another band. But then you start seeing that your sound is getting out there and into the world and out of Sweden and then to the States, and people are clamoring for it.
yeah, yeah, of course it was. I mean, kind of hard to believe. Back then, nobody. I mean, this was before the internet and the email and everything. So the only way you could, I mean, the common way to communicate was sending letters if you lived in different countries. So when I started getting letters from like the US and Japan, of course it was hilarious that someone actually found your music and then took their time to write a long letter saying how much the music meant to them, and yeah, it was quite crazy. Yeah.
What was your first show outside of Sweden?
Well, I think we played in like maybe Denmark, one of the first tours in '95.
Do you remember who you were touring with?
No, this was just like a one gig we did in Copenhagen.
Okay.
But the first like tour we did outside of Sweden was in Germany, I think '96. Toured with a German band called Queerfish. So of course that was very cool as well to just go outside from Sweden. I mean, because in those days I hadn't. I mean, I had traveled some, but I had never been to, like, for example, United States or Asia, or like outside of Europe. So that was also one of the reasons that it was quite amazing to get all those letters from those places, because it was back then it was so distant, so very far away from where we lived. Now,
back then, I mean, everything's, because like you said, it was either a letter, or if you had the money to make a long distance phone call.
Yeah.
Those were the only ways. And that's why everyone felt so far apart. And nowadays we feel so close, no matter, I'm in the States and you're in Sweden and we're talking to each other. Like it's, we're right next to each other in different rooms.
Amazing. Yeah. It's, so of course that was a big deal for us to just, you can play music and then get to travel and see all those new places.
What was it like going to Asia or the United States and seeing people sing your songs back to you?
We never went to the United States, actually, but we are still waiting for that invitation to play. I mean, we did go to Canada once and played a tour there.
Okay, so North America.
Yeah, exactly. That was very, very cool, of course. I mean, it's like a cliche, but if you experienced North America from movies and like commercials and music and like books, it's quite cool to actually see it in like 3D in real life. And so the first time when we went to Canada, it was very cool.
All right, well, we got to get you to the States then.
Yeah, so. Yeah, exactly. And of course, I mean, the first time we went to, I mean, we've been to Japan twice, and the first time was like maybe 2001, and of course that was also something else. To just, it's a very different like fan culture there. They're very dedicated to the music that they listen to.
Yeah, they go all in, and I mean, I have that in me to the point where every time I find a band or hear something I like, I just go all in, and then I follow them all the way through until they're no longer putting out music for me to listen to, but the music's always there for me to go back to and listen to. That's
amazing, because I think I'm more a restless person. I'm not so loyal to the bands I listen to. I can change when I get tired of it, but It's amazing to see people who, I mean, when we went to Japan 2 or 3 years ago, and just meet people who still, they went to the first tour in 2001, and then they come back like 17 years later, and they just say, "Oh, I waited for this moment," and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be the moment when you see that and just realize what kind of impact you had on someone.
Yeah, it's quite hard to take in, but it's great.
Now, throughout your career, is there a song that stands out to you that you recorded that is just one of those times when you felt everything click and you're like, this could be one of the best things we've ever done?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard because you are always very critical of yourself when you do music. It's but on every record we did, I think I can find one or two songs that still, when I listen to it, I can feel very proud or happy that, I mean, I can still feel that this is a great song, even though I listened to it for thousands of time. But maybe. Do you want me to mention one particular song, or?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a particular one, or if you have a couple, I mean, it's one of those things. I know it's hard to do because I call it, trying to pick your favorite child. I mean, it's hard to do.
Exactly, like you mentioned, Your Style, which is from your first record. I still, when I listen to it now, it feels like a perfect pop song. Even though I didn't write it myself, it was Patrick, the other songwriter. It's like not even 2 minutes long. It's like 1:56 maybe,
Yeah.
and still very packed with melodies and harmonies, and it's very direct pop song. So I can still appreciate it when I hear it, and on Calendar, our second like mini LP, I still like when we play Everybody's Gone, for example. I don't know if you heard it. It's from Calendar.
Yeah, no, it's the very first song, and this is where my point tries to get to too with you guys is when you go from your first album, STARMARKET, and Calendar and Sunday's Worst Enemy. The opening songs on those albums, they literally punch you in the face and make you stay.
Okay, great to hear. That's what I try to do every time we make a record. Because I mean, if I remember the moments when I listen to like records from other bands that was like, for example, the first time I put on what's it called? I mean, the first Six Pistols album. Do you remember?
Never Mind the Bollocks.
Never Mind the Bollocks. When I put on the vinyl the first time when I was in my teen years, and you hear those like boots, like the intro from Holiday in the Sun, and you like boots walking on the like a army marching, and you hear the guitar riff. That's like you want to have an opening for an album that really captures the listener directly and makes you think, what the hell what the hell is this?
Well, listen, you did it 3 in a row. I mean, and that's hard to do. I mean, it's there's nothing against 4 Hour Lights. Into Your Arms is a phenomenal song, but that was kind of when you guys started to follow into a new sound.
Yeah, and I think it's also a different song the songs are in different order on the US albums compared to the original versions that we did in Sweden. Because for example, Calendar, there's another song called Withers that was on the first song, and on Forest Light it was also not Into Your Arms. It was another song called Don't Leave Me This Way.
Okay, so what I have to do now is find the Swedish track lineup and then formulate the album that way and see how I feel.
If it makes it, if it's better, or maybe it's, it's the one that you listen to. Yeah. So we try to pick the. Nowadays, maybe it's not so important, but back then it was important to. If you had an album, you have to capture. I mean, you have to be very impressive. The first song.
Yeah, well, back then there was no such thing as there were singles that you would hear, a single played, but there were no bands just putting out here's a single and then 2 months later here's a single. No. It was here's our album.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, in your years of touring, was there ever a band that you toured with that was just so impressive to you that you got to sit back and watch them play and just be in awe of watching how they performed?
Well, we played with after we did Sunday's Worst Enemy, we went on tour with Texas Is the Reason, on which was to be the last tour they did. We did 2 weeks in Germany, I think it was, as a support act for them. And even though I haven't listened to all the records, but it was.
Well, they only have one.
Yeah, that's right.
They have one record and one EP. That's all they got. So.
But live, it was a different thing from the record. I mean, it was very, very impressive, and they were a good live band. So it was always a pleasure to see them play every night, and yeah, and try to think of someone else, but.
Hey, that's a good one.
Yeah. Exactly. It was fun. I mean, it was good to have. When you think about that, the fact that they broke up, the last show that we played on that tour, and we went home to United States and broke up. It was nice that you get to see them and play.
Yeah, I mean that is one of those hard things when you see something that you enjoy and then the heartache you get that it's over.
Yeah, that was nice. And we did some tours with Refused in Sweden, and they were always also very, very impressive every time you saw them. Good live band.
Do you have a band that has never let you down, like that you listen to? Like if I were to phrase it as Americans would call it, a favorite band, but for me, I don't call it favorite bands. I just call it a band that has never let you down with their music. And you're not allowed to say the Beatles.
Okay, yeah. Never let me. I mean, most people let you down
at some point, but
I mean, if I could say like Bruce Springsteen maybe, but because even though I haven't listened to him for many years, I still when I hear the records, I still feel this is very good. But of course, he did some very. I haven't listened to what he did last 30 years, so
Well, you don't have to.
If I have
I'll let you know you don't have to.
Okay, if I have to say someone, I say Bruce Springsteen. It's very, very. If you, it's quite. It's not. It's very hard to find something wrong.
Wow, I never in a million years would have guessed you would have said
Okay,
Bruce
really?
Springsteen.
Okay. And you're from New Jersey. Did you listen to him? Or maybe
See, I was born and raised in New Jersey. It was kind of you had to listen to him.
Of course.
Like everybody said, you're from New Jersey, you have to listen to. It was Bruce Springsteen and Bon Jovi. If you said you didn't like them, you were an outcast. But I can honestly say that, yeah, I'm not a huge Bon Jovi fan, and I like some things by Springsteen, but I'm not a huge Springsteen fan. So there it is. I put it out there. So now I'm going to get canceled out of New Jersey. Everybody's going to make me move.
Yeah, maybe it's too close to where you come from. I mean, it's like, I mean, for me, it's easy to appreciate if you come from a small town in northern Sweden, and yeah, than if you come from New Jersey, like you.
Is there music that you listen to that I would be even more surprised that I was surprised by the Bruce Springsteen? Is there something that like you get tons of enjoyment out of that people would be very surprised that you get a lot of enjoyment out of? Like, do you like disco, or like is there some type of music you listen to that people would be like, wow, I can't believe he listens to that?
Well, I like many people. I have gone through different stages. I mean, for a while it was a lot of soul music, but this was a long time ago. But I always listen a lot to like hip hop, rap. It started out when I was maybe in my teens, like 13, 14, when Public Enemy and Beastie Boys and those guys were around. And even if I never play that music, I still try to catch up with what's going on for the moment. Even nowadays, when it's nowadays, like it's the biggest music type of in the world. But even though I never played it, and I can't say like I'm a hardcore fan of the music, but
you can still enjoy it.
I can still enjoy it, and maybe that's something that people, when they listen to STARMARKET, it's very hard to hear. But I think
I wouldn't get hip hop out of listening to your music, but
I can imagine. But I think it's maybe the same reason that I started listening to hardcore and punk and like hard indie rock music like Archer of Loaf was maybe this. I think the same reason that I started listening to bands like Public Enemy and Beastie Boys when I was young, because it had this in-your-face attitude, and when you see it live, it can be quite good.
Yeah, and those, I mean, the two that you name with Public Enemy and Beastie Boys, they were very, I mean, like you said, they were very in your face about things. And there was a lot of hip hop and rap that was phenomenal stuff that I still love to this day, but those are two that were definitely in your face about it.
Exactly. And I listen to a lot of classical music nowadays. Maybe it has to do with like you grow older,
age. Yeah.
So I can't. I mean, it was a long time since I put on like a guitar-based rock album. I listen to some like metal music, like harder metal, but I don't catch up with. I don't follow what's going on in, like the more indie scene nowadays.
Yeah. Now I have this is a morbid question that I'll ask, but if You had 5 minutes left to live, and the world, you see a meteor coming to hit the earth, and but you have to. Says you have to listen to one song before you perish. Do you know what song you would listen to?
That's a tricky one, but
anything come into your mind? The first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, right now, I mean, I guess it depends on. Now I would say something by maybe Steve Reich or something, like a minimalistic composer. He's done stuff that are quite, relaxing to listen to, and like meditative music.
Yeah, so you're putting a score to the end of your life. You're taking a movie score.
But great song. It's hard to pick one. It's very hard to pick one. But maybe "Born to Run" by Bruce Springsteen.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, you're not going to outrun the meteor, but hey, that is a good song.
Exactly.
So, okay, sorry about that, but it was just something that I like to find out. So, do you have? Are you still creating music? Are you still tinkering with music in any sort of way?
Not so much these days. I just started like playing bass in a band with a friend like a couple of months ago. But before that, it was a really long time that I did some like new music. If you don't count STARMARKET and my solo projects, so it hasn't been the last 20 years. I've been mostly focusing on other things, but I still play music, but not like writing a lot of songs. And I mean, there's been different focus in my life. So
yeah, listen, I completely understand that.
Yeah, we did so much with STARMARKET for a couple of years. So it's
a very short period of time. In a very short period of time, you did a lot of work and put out a lot of albums. And
a lot of songs that not even half of it made it to the records. I mean, like, for example, when we did 4 Hours Light, I think we did like 60 songs before we started to like record. And so, yeah, I guess if you do that for a short period of time, you kind of get burnt out.
Yeah.
You have to focus on something else. And
well, yeah, 60 songs for one album. Yeah, that's a lot in a short period of time for one album.
Yeah, so. we were two songwriters, so we could do that more easily, but still, yeah.
Are there any of those recordings floating around?
I think it's lost somewhere in on a tape somewhere, but I have no idea. I haven't seen it.
Well, I don't want to keep you very long. I know we're on different schedules, different times in the world right now. I appreciate you coming on. I know you had some crazy stuff. Train's not running today over there, so appreciate you being here.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
So last thing I'm going to ask is, we have our segment's called Weekly Threes. It's the last 3 things you've listened to. If you know, or if you pull up a Spotify list, or 3 things you've listened to.
Yeah. Okay. I have to check my Spotify, I think.
Yeah.
That would be, I have to come up with a really smart answer now.
No, you don't need a smart answer. I need the last 3 things you
That's probably Meshuggah, the Swedish metal band. I'm very into them the last couple of years. I always listen to them, but they're from Umeå, where I lived for a couple of years in north of Sweden. Do you know them?
No, I don't, but I'm going to listen to them. That's why I ask these questions.
It's very technical, like metal music. And I listened to Neu, like German 70s band.
Okay.
And Dire Straits, of course.
Dire Straits. Look at that.
Great band. I really like some of their stuff. Not everything, but they have some good songs.
Awesome.
Awesome. War on Drugs. The last War on Drugs was
the newest one that came out, or the one before that. They just had one come. The newest one, yeah.
It's good.
All right, cool. Good choices. My 3 for this week is, my first one is a band called Cliff Diver. There's an album called At Your Own Risk. They're an emo pop punk band from Oklahoma. Really good. Next band is Animal Flag, an album called Void Reaper, a New York alt-rock band. And last but not least, a band called Souvenirs. The album is called Love for the Lack of It. And they are a California shoegaze band, really good for fans of, if you're like Owen, Mike Kinsella, his band Owen. If you like that, you should like Souvenirs. So those are my 3 for this week.
Okay, I have to check them out. Thanks for the.
So first, I want to say thank you for all the music you've created for what I feel for me, because I've loved everything you've done. So I truly appreciate what you've done for me with your music. So I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you for listening to us for all this period, for this long period of time.
And I'm not going to stop, because I always put it on when I'm going through CDs or records, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I haven't listened to this in a long time, and I put it on, and I get to enjoy it and experience it all over again. And that's what I love about music. But Fredrik, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all you've done for the musical community, with everything you've created and put out there. We hope for something from you, maybe in the future, even if you throw out 3 solo singles somewhere on the Spotify, because you can do that now, when before you couldn't. So
it's true, exactly. You never know.
But we wish you all the best, and thank you for being here all the way from Sweden today. And for all the listeners out there, you know what your job is to do next. You go out, listen to STARMARKET, and have a great fucking time.
Still not together.
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.